Hi guys, I'm Kesha. Welcome to our coffee times to talk about horror. And today, because Halloween is just around the corner, I thought I would give you some Halloween book recommendations. Now, all the years, what I do is I just recommend books that I think are gonna be fun for Halloween, or that in one way or another could be considered Halloween books, but this year I wanted to be very precise. So this year all the books that are in this list take place during Halloween. That's what I wanted. Specifically look for books that take place during Halloween. So I have come up with a little list and I'm here to give you recommendations. Hopefully you still find something here that you want to pick up for Halloween Day. If you are like me, normally during Halloween Day, the 31st of October, I like to read maybe a novella or a book for the whole day. It just depends on the mood and how much time I have available. But in case you're still looking for a book to read during that day, I have a list for you. Or if you just want some Halloween books because you love to read Halloween all year long, I get you, I understand you, and I hope you find something in this video that you still have not heard of yet.
It's coffee time!
The way we are going to do this today is I am going to recommend you some middle grade books, then some YA, then we're gonna go straight to adult. Small Spaces by Catherine Arden, and in this book you will discover that even harmless school trips can turn into a nightmare. Olive, our main character, loves books. She's obsessed with books, and one day she sees a woman about to throw a book to the river and she's like, absolutely not. So she rescues the book and she reads it, and it is a horror story kind of that takes place in the town where she lives, and she finds the book very interesting, but she tries not to think too much about it. However, during a harmless school trip, things take a turn for the worst. The bus with all the kids gets stranded in the middle of the road, and as things start to happen, Olive realizes that this horror story that she read about might actually be true, and because she has read the book, she might be the only one that knows how to save these kids. This is a perfect story for people that love books about friendships and fighting together against a common evil, and also perfect obviously for Halloween. The Halloween Moon by Joseph Fink, and here we follow Esther. She absolutely loves Halloween season. She loves everything spooky and she is ready for this year. She has her costume ready. She wants to go trick-or-treating, but her parents think that she is a little bit too old to go trick-or-treating, but she doesn't care. She's determined to go and have her fun. However, something this Halloween feels off. When she goes trick-or-treating, nobody's answering their doors, nobody's opening up. The kids that are on the street supposedly trick-or-treating are wearing costumes that might not even be costumes at all. Something is really wrong today. So Esther, together with some of her friends, is gonna have to figure out what's going on in this town, if it is a curse, what's going on, and try to save the town. The House in the Woods by Yvette Fielding, and this follows a group of friends that want to do something very special this Halloween night. For them, it's just not enough to dress up, put on their costumes, and go trick-or-treating. They want to do something really scary. So they decide to go to an abandoned house in the middle of the woods that it is rumored to be haunted. And not only that, but they also want to play or kind of use, I would say, the Ouija board inside of this haunted space, and just for fun and giggles. But you know, as I am telling you, you already in your mind are going, this is not a good idea, and I agree. They thought they were playing a game, but obviously they awakened something by playing with the Ouija board, and now that something is hunting them, following them back home. Fresh Hell by Cameron Chaney, and this book is one of my favorite books that I have read this year because it is full of 90s nostalgia, and I was here for it. Our main character Bailey is plagued by nightmares. She has really bad nightmares, and in those nightmares sometimes she sees people. So in one of her nightmares she sees a guy that she has never seen before, but the next day when she goes to school, what does she see? The guy from her dreams entering her classroom. We are in Autumn Crow. Autumn Crow is a place where people disappear and people get murdered, but nobody raises any questions. And our students go to Autumn High, and one of them is Bailey. And soon she realizes that all of those nightmares that she has been having are kind of premonitions of things that are going to happen. So what would you do if you would see horrible things happen to someone? Would you tell them beforehand? Would you try to fix it without telling them anything? What would you do if you could predict horrible events? I love the idea of having Autumn Crow as a town where all of these horrible things happen. If you never read his short horror story compilation, Autumn Crow, now is the perfect time to do it because it has been also re-released as an illustrated edition. So now is the chance for you to get that new baby with all the illustrations. And I'm really excited about Autumn Crow High and the next books that probably, hopefully, Cameron will come to follow up and turn this maybe into the next Fear Street series. Tastes Like Candy by Ivy Tholen, and this one is perfect for Halloween because it is set in an abandoned Halloween-themed carnival. Everyone at Pritchett High, every year they want to be chosen for the senior scavenger hunt. And this year, Violet is one of the lucky ones. Or is she? So basically every year they do this kind of scavenger hunt where they go someplace and it is mostly maybe like a room in the school or, you know, the gymnasium, somewhere that it is familiar to them, that it's closed. But this year they want to do something very different and exciting. So they decide to sneak during the night into this abandoned Halloween-themed park, which you already know that's probably not a great idea because, first of all, if it's abandoned, nobody's gonna be there if shit hits the fan. Also, they don't know if there's people living in there because, you know, if it's abandoned, there might be people living there, dangerous people. But hey, our girls decide it is the perfect place to go and celebrate and do this scavenger hunt. And they start doing this scavenger hunt and they soon realize that inside of the park, obviously, there is a killer on the loose. And this book, for being YA, had quite intense deaths. I mean, the death scenes were my favorite parts of this book and I had so much fun with it. It also has a part 2, which I have not read yet, but this one, part 1, is perfect for Halloween. Red Harvest by Patrick C. Green, and this one takes place in a farm town called Ember Hollow, and every year they go all out for Halloween. There is hundreds of pumpkins carved, people put a lot of effort into their costumes, there is a pumpkin parade, but what everybody is the most excited about in this town, it's Devil's Night. But this year something is different. The people in town start to have visions, they hear voices, nobody knows what's going on, they think maybe they're losing their minds, but what is actually happening this Halloween night? The Graveyard Shift by Maria Lewis, and this one follows Tinsel, who is basically a host at a radio show, and it is a show about horror and horror movies and all of those things. And there is a fan that calls in that night, and while he's on air telling his story, he gets murdered. So basically, because it's Halloween night, Tinsel believes that it was a prank. However, it is not. The person, the caller, the fan that called the radio station actually was killed while he was on air. So the next day, the detectives come to talk to Tinsel and they tell her, you know, it's true, this person was killed. And there is an investigation that starts. This is kind of like a horror thriller. And apparently people from the film industry keep being targeted and killed, and then Tinsel also gets some threats, so they put her under protection and they have to find the killer. The Barn by Brian G. Berry, and this is a novelization of the movie, so if you've seen the movie you kind of already know, but it is Halloween night in 1989 and we follow a group of friends that are trying to make the best out of Devil's Night, you know, before they go into college and start, you know, their new lives, and they want to go to a rock concert, and while they're driving they kind of get a little bit lost and they end up finding a barn. And when they get to the barn, they go inside, they awaken an evil that was asleep, but now it's back to life and they're gonna have to fight for their lives. So this is a slasher. If you've seen the movie, you also know. But if you don't like horror movies so much, but you love to read and you love slashers, this might be a great option for you. All Hallows by Christopher Golden, and this is perfect for people that love supernatural tales. And we are in a small town in 1984. It is Halloween night, but something is different tonight. We have a lot of trick-or-treaters on the street in this neighborhood, but there are 4 of those kids that are trick-or-treating that look different. Their costumes look old, vintage, and faded, and they keep asking for people to hide them, to save them from someone that they call the Cunning Man. Who are these 4 kids? Is this Cunning Man real? Is he coming for all the kids tonight while they're trick-or-treating? You have to read to find out. The Nightmare Man by J.H. Marquardt, and this follows a writer that lives in Blackwood Mansion, and he is writing one of his latest books, and his book is about Halloween, obviously, and it features a scarecrow. However, that year for Halloween, people are starting to be killed the same way that they are killed in his book. Everything that happened in the book is starting to come to life before their eyes, and they don't know what to do to stop it. But they're gonna have to do something soon because the crimes keep happening in the same order that they happened in the book. So is there an evil scarecrow on the loose? And why is it killing people the same way that they're being killed in the book? Is it something supernatural? Is it a human evil kind of situation? We shall see. Ghost Road Blues by Jonathan Mayberry. And here we are again in a small town, which is something that authors love to do for Halloween, and I totally get it because there's something about having a small town celebrating Halloween that cannot compare to a big city. So in this small town, 30 years ago, there was a serial killer on the loose, and now the town is known as the spookiest town in America. And this year, just 1 month before Halloween, dead bodies start to appear again. The town already had to defeat evil 30 years ago. Will they be able to do it again? The Night Country by Stuart Onan, and in this one we follow 5 teenagers that are driving on their car midnight at Halloween night when they crash into a tree. 3 of them immediately die on the spot. 1 of them is unharmed and the other one has some brain damage. Now a year later, the 3 that died, the 3 that perished during the car crash, are coming back as ghosts because they have something to settle. Kill Creek by Scott Thomas, and this one also has a very interesting and simple premise. There is a house that it's supposed to be like the most haunted place ever. So they decide to record a reality show there. But what they want to do is to invite horror writers and very famous, popular, well-known horror writers to spend the night on Halloween in the most haunted house, and they want to turn it into kind of like a reality TV show. So they invite different authors from different subgenres of horror, and one of them is very famous, and you could kind of tell that it's kind of like the version of Stephen King in this book. So I think for almost every author that you see in this book, you can kind of tell which author inspired Scott Thomas to introduce this character into the book. And when they get there, obviously most of them agree because they either need the popularity, you know, they need the views, they need to be a little bit more famous. Others need the money because they're being paid, of course, very well. And when they get there, they think, you know, I just have to survive the night with these people, and then I cash and I'm out the door. However, actual things start to happen inside of the house, and we shall see who survives the night. Especially being horror writers, you would expect them to have some knowledge in horror. And this one was a lot of fun, and especially for people that love horror or even horror writers, I think this is a really fun read. Dark Harvest by Norman Partridge, and this is a novella, so it's perfect if you want a quick read for Halloween. This one takes place Halloween night 1963, and it is a small town again where they have a very interesting tradition. There is something called the October Boy, which is a scarecrow kind of thing with a pumpkin head that comes out every night for Halloween, and it starts to hunt young boys in town, and the young boys kind of chase the October boy, and it's kind of like the game that they play every Halloween, but obviously people get hurt, and there is a very dark secret in this town as well that you will have to discover. Now this one is a very interesting tale. The writing style is a little bit different. It's not so kind of straightforward, so it might not appeal to all readers, but I think this is a very solid and good read for Halloween. The October Society by Christopher Robertson, and this is part 1. Basically, there is another one that already came out, and these are short horror stories. So I thought I would mention also short horror stories for Halloween in case that you prefer to read some short stories, or if you're busy this month for whatever reason and you just want like things that you can consume quickly every day. These are some short horror stories, and if you've already read chapter 1, chapter 2 is also already out. This is Halloween by James A. Moore, and I wanted to mention this one as well because this is also short horror stories for Halloween. So these 2 short horror story compilations are all around Halloween nights and Halloween time, so if you have never heard of these ones, now you have more to add to your pile. I wanted to add a bonus read, and this is for my people that really like disturbing, messed up books, because this is splatterpunk, so I know it's not gonna be for everybody. I think you can already tell by the cover. Scary Bastard by Aaron Bjorgaard, and this is a book that follows different people's stories during the Halloween night. So there's different people, including one of them is a killer, and this one is very gory, very body horror, very intense. So I'm mentioning this one here as a bonus just in case someone loves the extreme and has never heard of this one, because this would be a perfect read for Halloween night, because we follow different individuals in Halloween night as they go about their night and what happens to them. Spoiler alert, not nice things. These were my Halloween recommendations, all books that take place during Halloween season or Halloween night itself. I hope that you got a couple of recommendations from this video, maybe a couple of books that you had never heard of before. Let me know down below if there is any other books that take place during Halloween that you love or that you would recommend to other people. Leave it in the comments down below. If you want to support me and the channel directly, please consider joining my Patreon. The link is down below. Thank you guys, as always, so much for watching, and I hope to see you all, as always, in our next coffee time. Bye!